Hi everyone, I'm doing a series starting today on looking at the archetypes from Aries through to Pisces to give you an idea of the challenging aspects of each sign and also the positive aspects. When I say challenging and positive aspects, I'm less talking about from a personality point of view and more talking about from the point of view of more psychological point of view. And what we'll be doing is, after, you really need to master the archetypes so that when it comes to looking at various placements that you have in a sign and a house, then you feel more confident to be able to blend the archetypes together, both from how a placement is challenging for you and also for how it can really empower you. So that's where we'll end up going over time. But to begin with, I'm going to take you through each of the archetypes, and this video will be looking at Aries. So what are the challenging aspects when looking at Aries? Like, what does this mean? What does the first house or Aries give you a sense of in terms of how it can challenge you? So feelings, I guess, that are associated with this, so challenging feelings are things like anger and frustration, and that your will, what you want to do, your instinct, what you feel you want to do, is in some way dampened, either because of yourself, and again, this will depend on the house, or you feel that there are forces outside yourself that are doing this to you. With that, there comes, the layers within that are insecurity. So Aries is has a lot of insecurity in its most challenging aspects because it's the first sign. It is born into life. It has emerged into this 3D reality without really knowing yet what it is here for. It's here to experience, it's here to go out and follow its instincts, but that is a scary and insecure thing. You can liken it to that moment of birth. You can imagine in many ways the shock of being born, and there's a certain insecurity, which if you're left alone and there's no one to catch you when you're born, there's no one to take care of you straight away, then you would feel very alone, and that insecurity is exacerbated. So Aries is a sign where you're looking to discover your identity. It's why, that's also to do with the ascendant and the first house. And in terms of wanting to discover your identity, that is also an insecure type situation. Who are you? Who do you want to be? How do you know who you are? Those are challenging aspects as well. And there can be the experience in Aries in the first house of feeling like you don't actually have a right to exist, that in some way you weren't wanted, or your existence is not wanted, or you're not entitled to your existence. And this can come up in some quite particular aspects. Not everybody who has a planet in Aries will feel this way, but we'll look at that anyway as we go on. But if that is something that you feel quite strongly, then it's likely that you have some important things going on in your first house or in Aries, potentially both. So let me just take a look at my list here of other things. Yeah, so we've looked at that sort of thing, this lacking in identity, and if you think about when you're feeling insecure, you can try and hide that, or you can try and fight that. You can try to put on that brave face that says, I don't feel insecure, or you don't want other people to see that. So that's where a lot of the characteristics associated with Aries, like being defensive, wanting to fight, wanting to attack, be on the offense rather than the defense, that sort of thing, that's where it really comes into play. And there's always sort of a restlessness about Aries, always being on the move. And that's very much to do with there's this drive to discover, there's this drive to always keep going and to discover more. And within that, then we do get this sort of restlessness and this inability to settle and stay somewhere for long. And obviously that has its pros, but also its cons. If it's in overdrive, that can be quite challenging as well. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the Aries archetype from a challenging perspective. So let's take a look at the positive aspects of Aries in the first house. So you can imagine that if you have discovered who you are and you have a strong sense of who you are and your identity, you're very grounded in the knowledge of yourself. So it's not anger that you're experiencing or showing, it's assertiveness. Okay, so being assertive is a real positive aspect, standing up for yourself. The Aries that goes out there and discovers new things, the discovery is the pioneer. And being a pioneer is obviously an amazing thing and something that has progressed humanity forward always and still does so. So being a pioneer is a really positive aspect. Having strong instincts is obviously also very positive because you have a trust in your inner knowing, a trust that sort of comes from your body. So that's always also a positive aspect. Other words that we can think about are being energetic, being courageous. That might be a Leo thing as well, but it's also, to be a pioneer, you need some courage. Spontaneous is also can be positive. Obviously it can be negative if that spontaneity is erratic. But a spontaneousness that comes from joy, that comes from the joy of discovery and the joy of experiencing life can be a very positive aspect. And being independent is also another positive aspect. So there is, of course, the level of independence where you're so independent that you shut other people out. Okay, and so then we're talking about too much Aries and not enough Libra. But a healthy independence, and then that can lead to some interdependence, is obviously a really great thing as well. Confidence as well. So again, that can be Leo, that can be all of the fire signs, but you can begin with a level of confidence in Aries, confident in who you are. You feel free. There's a great feeling of freedom that can come with a really empowered Aries. And with that freedom, then there's the desire to initiate, to start things. Obviously, if you always only start and never finish things, we're moving again back towards the negative, but you can think of the higher level of these. There can be a lot of passion, being very passionate about things that you love, or just being a passionate person, being passionate sexually as well. And then there's that warrior mentality, but it's not coming from a place of anger, it's not even coming from a place of righteousness. It's that sort of justified anger. It's the anger that follows the grounded and confident and secure instinct that lets you know that this is a correct emotion for this situation, and that you're entitled to that as well. So you have all those things to think about also. So I think hopefully that gives you a good look at the Aries of first house archetype, gives you some keywords and some things to consider, that as we move forward into starting to look at some placements and blending the archetypes together, then you have a solid background of the types of themes and feelings and an overall sense of the archetype that you want to take forward into really studying your own chart.